As the bells choir leaves, you're welcome to get another water. If you drank yours already, stay cool, stay refreshed. Just stay. Wasn't quite sure what scripture to use, what theme for this time of worship for the community. In part because at First United Methodist, we've been doing a series on John Wesley and his times and how that can understand what it means to be a Methodist. And I knew that there would be a good number of people who care nothing about being a Methodist who might be here today. But in our study guide we're using, the writer, Adam Hamilton, mentions that he has a sermon about a bag of stones, a backpack that was full of stones, and I thought, oh, I know that. That sermon about the bag of stones. I first heard a sermon about a bag of stones with Gary DeWitt and then Max Lucado and, sorry, excuse me?
Hi.
It didn't take me long though. It didn't take me long to realize that it wasn't Gary and Max and Adam that had bags of stone. But I had one too. Would you like to see what's in my bag of stones? This one, oh my goodness, this is one of the oldest ones that I have. You can see how smooth that it is, because I have been holding onto this stone for a long, long time. It's interesting, I didn't even know anything about stones or the need to have bags of stones to carry around all your stones. I had no idea the need for stones. I was just a little girl when I got this stone. I was visiting my grandmother. Oh, just a delightful, wonderful woman. And I was visiting her and I wanted to help. And I kept asking, can I help? Can I help? And she was cooking and I was asking, can I help? Can I help? Can I help? And I must have asked one too many times because she finally asked, do you know how to peel potatoes? Well, I said, yes, I know how to peel potatoes. Everyone knows how to peel potatoes, right? Even though I didn't know how to peel potatoes. And so I took the knife, because I didn't even know what a potato peeler was. I took the knife and I started hacking away at the peelings of a potato. And about the time I finished that first one, my grandmother looked over and she said, oh, don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. I'll take care of that. You go outside and play. And I looked over at my peelings where most of the potato was left on the peelings, and I looked over at her peelings. And I saw the difference. And realized for the first time I had done something that wasn't good enough. Wasn't good. That was my first stone in this bag of stones. A little bit later, I was trying out for the gymnastics team, and all summer I practiced for tryouts. I practiced on and on. I learned how to do somersaults and handstands, and I could do cartwheels, and I almost got where I could do a round-off back handspring. I was so close to being able to do a round-off back handspring, and I was ready, I thought, for the gymnastics team tryouts, and I tried out, and well, another stone. You weren't quite good enough for the team. I guess coaches know about giving out stones. I remember one time our son Mark had a friend come to spend the night, and Mark's friend came and told us about his soccer team that he was on. These 7-year-olds were just having a ball playing soccer, and we were just like, well, what's the name of your team? And he said, we're the Ophers. I'm like, what? We're the Ophers, you know, O for 1, O for 2, O for 3, O for 4, O for 5, and around O for 6. The coach just got disgusted with these 7-year-olds on this team and quit, and handed every child in that batch and that team a stone to put in their bag. A stone of you just weren't quite good enough. It's so easy for people to just drop a stone into your bag, a poor grade, a bad choice, make a mess, and it's not just in childhood that happens. My friend Molly was a youth pastor at a church, and well, attendance has been down, and so has been giving, and they decided that rather than pay for a youth pastor to minister to the youth, and then they were just going to ask the parents to run the youth program and cobble together a youth program in that way. And they told her, it's not you, it's not personal, there's just no money. And she walks away with stones in her bag. I have another friend, Michael, who graduated almost a year ago, and he has been looking for a job ever since. He's been looking for a job, unable to find a job, and finally he decided that the best way to handle this situation of sending out resumes and nobody even bothering to reply, the best way of responding to all these websites where you apply and nobody even answers, we got your application, was to just have a party. So he decided to have a rejection letter party, and you could bring a rejection letter if you had one, or you could just bring a printout of a website where you applied to and nobody even bothered to reply. And he just wanted everybody to understand that they'll bring your rejection letter, come on and bring it, because we all got them. We all got a bag of stones. We all have the rejections and the hurts and, well, they get heavy. They get heavy. And while I've been talking a lot about stones that other people put in, I'll just be honest with you. There's a bunch of these in here that I managed to put in myself. Some of these I call regret. Regret. I have this theory about how God works, that God makes teenagers the way they are, so that when they leave the house, you are so ready to have them gone. That's my theory. And boy, I'll tell you, it worked with our son Matt. We were so ready by the time he left home. It was horrible in the house that last year. And partly was because Ed and Matt both had to have the last word. No matter what one said, the other had to give an answer back. And one would speak and the other would answer back, and they couldn't stop. It was one and then the other, just butting heads over and over and over and over again. And then I realized, well, my goodness, I had to have the last word too. I was just a little bit more subtle about it. I would leave little notes for Matt. Matt, I can't believe that you didn't clean up your bathroom when you knew that we were going to have company tonight. Or, Matt, I can't believe that you just threw my CDs, took them out of the CD holder and threw them into the trunk of the car so you could put in yours, and you just have no respect for my things. And it was true. He had no respect for my things, and no respect for my company, and no respect for my plans, but you know, in those years after he left home, those years after I got over being glad that it was time for him to leave home, I wondered, does he know that I love him no matter what? Because I remember times when I praised him for good grades and praised him for a good job, but does he know that even when he messes up, I love him? Does he know that no matter where he goes or whatever he does, I love him? Yeah. There's more than one stone named regret in my bag of stones. There's a lot of years when I knew that I should be responding to God's love. Many years when I knew at the time that God had so much more, wanted so much more for me, but I was just good at pushing God away and saying, I am busy now. I have things that I need to do, people to see, places to go. And now when I think of the time that could have been spent growing and knowing God's love, well, that stone is in there too. Years of regret. Oh, the back is heavy. It is no wonder that so many people walk around with mean expressions on their face, that so many people lash out with road rage, that so many people look worried. These stones are heavy. Heavy. I remember trying to get a little bit of relief, and one of the ways that I got a little bit of relief was at work. I would go into the office and I would just get so busy working on my project and typing away and doing my research, and so busy and working, and I could go a whole day without remembering that I had a bag of stones. But there it was, sitting there, and at the end of the day, when it was time to go home, there it was, waiting on me, still here. The hurts and the pains that you don't want to let go. Oh. Some of these stones, they're sharp and pointy. And I seem to do best at using sharp and pointy stones with people that I know best. Because when you know someone well, you know just how to hurt them. You know the words to say. You bring up the old mistake they made and give it to them one more time. We are most hurtful. We can be most hurtful with those we know best. How to get rest. How to forget. Oh, I do have a friend that I like to go for walks with. We like to walk along and talk as we walk, and as we walk along and talk, sometimes I'll get up the courage and I'll show her. Here's my stone. Here's where I messed up. Here's where I hurt someone. And you know, when I do that, she'll open up her bag, and it turns out she's got a stone almost exactly like mine. That hurt and that pain. And we will give each other suggestions on how to carry the bag. You know, do you use two hands or one, and do you sling it up? And we'll help one another in this way, but even when we're helping one another, the stones are still there, and the sack gets heavy. You know, Max Lucado, in his Bag of Stones sermon, he looks to Ephesians 5:28, where Paul writes that as a man treats his wife, that's how he loves his wife, that's how he loves himself. And I think that's true. I think that's true, not just for husbands and wives, but friendships and relationships, that as we know ourselves and love ourselves, that's how we treat others. And when we're ashamed and when we're burdened, that's when we treat others casually. That's when we treat others hurtfully. I would rather turn to the story we turn to today. That story in Luke, where Jesus sees a woman in a synagogue, a woman who has been crippled and bent over for 18 years. For 18 years. And I can only imagine what her stones look like in her bag. For 18 years, she has been watching other people carry water from the city well to their homes and carry it gracefully, and wondered why she can't do that. A woman who's crippled with a bent over back. A woman who's wondered, have I done something to deserve this? A woman with a crippled bent over back who's heard the whispers of others. And Jesus sees her in a way that no one else does. And he says to her, come, come. And he reaches out and he heals her. There's another passage where Jesus says, come. He says, come to me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden. Take my yoke, for my way is easy. And I will give you rest. I will give you rest. To take out that stone of hurt and say, I forgive you. I forgive you for the pain you caused, even though you didn't realize. I forgive you for the hurts. To take out the stones and know that it's not what you've done. That God forgives and God offers life. I would read from Ephesians 3, where God speaks of what God wants to fill us up. Fill us with, instead of a bag of stones, that God's desire is to fill us according to the riches of his glory, that will be strengthened in the inner being, that Christ may dwell in our hearts through faith, that we'll be filled and rooted and grounded in love, that you'll be filled with this love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, filled with the fullness of God, to let go of the stones that we carry, the stress, the burden, the hurts, the resentment, anything we hold, and let go and be empty to this power of God. Come, Jesus says, come, and name the stones and give them to me. And in your emptiness, know that I have a spirit of peace and hope and love. And with this, I long to fill you. I'm going to ask Shane and the praise team to come up and play a bit as we say a prayer of giving to God these stones, a prayer of asking for that presence of God. Come, Jesus says, come to me, you who are weary. And that's who we are, weary from burdens, weary from hurts we didn't ask for. Weary. And we give to you this weariness. Give to you the pain and resentment and the hurts. Help us to forgive. And the pains. Help us to let go. Help us to know the breadth and the length and height and depth of your love. Take each hurt and each disappointment, and as we let go, make room for your presence. Dear God, we long to be filled with your Spirit, with Christ's love, the fullness of God. Amen.